Satan is among the most misunderstood figures in all of biblical literature. Seen today as a well-defined character, namely a fallen angel and the personification of all that is evil, this image is a far cry from the original meaning of Satan in our earliest sources from the Hebrew Bible. In the separation stage of the transformation process, the alchemist has been identifying and isolating the shadow component of their personal unconscious. This exact same procedure is presaged in the Hebrew Bible with the appearance of the figure of Satan, who initially represented God's own personal shadow and, stage by stage, became a separate, independent entity. As has been the fate of many figures of sacred literature, Satan has undergone an evolution that includes specific details which were added piece by piece over many centuries. This development is so comprehensive that our modern rendering is unrecognizable beside the first form. Satan's appearance in the New Testament is one of the very few examples of a Hebrew word being brought directly into the Greek texts, and it is clear that many diverse religious concepts were already becoming crystallized into a new model. Much of this is a reflection of the turbulent political context within which the early apocalyptic writers lived. After about 2,000 years of misappropriation, it is time to reclaim many ancient symbols back and restore their original intent. The symbol of Satan is a representation of the human shadow, both on a personal and collective level. Satan is one of only few terms in the New Testament that derives directly from Hebrew. In the Hebrew Bible, the word is shaitan. There are, in all its forms, 27 occurrences of the word in the Hebrew Bible. Of these, the term is used 9 times in scattered references to describe various humans who were at odds with each other or with God. An example of this is at 1 Kings, where Solomon turns away from Yahweh to follow other gods, and in retribution, the Lord raised up against Solomon an adversary, Hadad the Edomite, from the royal line of Edom, and that's at 11:14. There are 2 more adversaries mentioned in this chapter that were raised up by God against Solomon. The noun, which becomes Satan, is ha-shatan, or a cognate, with the effective meaning of the adversary or the accuser. This form is used 18 times in the Hebrew Bible, of which 14 are in the first chapters of the book of Job, where the allegorical aspect is evident in the narrative context. There is a great deal of uncertainty regarding the dating of the various books of the Hebrew Bible, but the debut of the figure of Satan is either this reference in Job or in the book of 1 Chronicles at 21:1. Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. This action was evil in the sight of God, who punished Israel. We can get some idea of the evolution of the figure of Satan by cross-referencing this appearance with an earlier record of the same event. At 2 Samuel 24:1 it states, "Again the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, 'Go and take a census of Israel and Judah.'" Originally it was written that God had incited David to make the census, and by doing so incur his wrath. An important aspect to bear in mind is that in the Hebrew Bible in general, it is God who brings trials and tribulations on people, usually for their apostasy or falling away to false gods. For example, at Isaiah 45:7, it is clearly emphasized in God's own words, speaking in the first person. "I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things." This same sentiment is expressed at Deuteronomy 30:15. "See, I," that's God, "have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil." The reference to God inciting David in 2 Samuel was written at the beginning of the Babylonian exile period, 586 to 539 BCE. At this point, Israel had been subjugated by a foreign power. This was a time to don the sackcloth and sprinkle the ashes, a period of repentance and collective soul-searching to try and understand how they had come to that terrible situation. However, the change in the narrative at 1 Chronicles was written after the exile was over, and the Jews were trying to re-establish themselves. It would do no good to go over their sinful past with the same self-deprecation. They needed to have renewed faith in their leaders. 1 and 2 Chronicles in general were written for a Jewish people who needed encouragement and strengthening, and therefore the figure of Satan developed as a form of distance to David's personal error, and also the enmity between God and his people. Comparing the development between the 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles narrative, we could say that God's wrath has become hypostasized. This means that the concept of divine retribution has been made concrete and has been given a real and tangible identity. This development can be seen more graphically in the book of Job, which has by far the most numerous examples of Satan as a character, and one of the more